But that's our startup cost, okay? They're donating, the amount that Waterford Township is supposed to get those for $243,000 and some change. And it's gonna cost, $270-some thousand, so we have to come up with the additional $31,000 out of our pocket. That said, remember we allocated money at budget time for the interview room over there.
Did they get the grant?
But the grant, but it's part of this money that's tied in there. And if we go ahead with that ahead of time, we don't get reimbursed for it. So you get the grant, once the grant's approved, which is supposed to be October 1st, then you move ahead with it because it's been approved. But if we decide to go ahead with this, and this is in litigation, that's money out of our pocket we're never gonna get back, and it was supposed to be reimbursed through the grant. The money we spend on that interview room, we're supposed to be, but if the grant isn't there yet, then we go ahead and do it, and then we're out that money, and that was pushing 28,000. Originally it's 25, and then costs went up, so it's pushing 28,000, so. But, again, it's another thing to look at there, and as this stuff gets presented, it sounds good, but it just, that's kind of like what Chief Lyman's been talking about, the board meeting, that he's talking about. And again, it's another way for the state to generate revenue, to send it not back to us. We would be referred to, I think, as he referred to as a donor community, And it's $3.60 or $3.90 for every Medicaid run. I figured it'd be about $4,400 a year. So you figure, just say, there was, I think it was 3767.70, I think was what our quarterly amount is to pay it. It's $3,767.70, 4 times a year. And I think if you, the numbers he had, I don't have them in front of me, but it kind of in my head was roughly 4,400 calls at $3.60 or $3.90 a call. And these are Medicaid. And when I say Medicaid, that's Medicaid senior, Medicare, Medicaid, same thing. That's runs that you bill Medicaid for. So that's where those numbers come in at. And it goes in, and it's an inordinate amount of money that gets paid out. So John is dead set against it. He has talked to the Oakway chiefs about, a consortium going against it. Some are on, some aren't. Some are gonna actually benefit from it, some aren't gonna benefit. But that said, they're gonna oppose it. They're gonna oppose it. And the other thing was, they sent the bill out like on September 16th, and it's due September 30th, where you pay penalties and interest. And typically, there isn't any billing process out there that you don't have, a 30-day net window to pay it. So they sent it out, we had a 14-day. He did ask for a 1-month extension. He's not heard back from him yet, but last time I checked the date's the 24th, we get 6 days to pay it. And again, understand, none of the Oakway chiefs received any information from the state of Michigan. This is just stuff that they heard about from legislators, our state reps and senators, and they shared amongst each other in conversation. And just all of a sudden one day you open the mailbox up, and there's a bill from the state for the crap tax. They said it was the 16th, and it's due on the 30th, and you don't pay it, there's penalties and interest. So John's going to talk about that at the board meeting, that basement. But again, it's a similar thing. You're looking at another way. You're going to bill us for this, bill it for indigent defense. Everybody gets spread out, goes back to everybody. But again, it's on the backs of the municipalities. And my guess would be with that indigent defense, I would be lucky to see 2 or 3 years out of that before that goes away. And it's all on our back now.
So I'd just like to make a couple comments about all of these grants that come through. Nobody counts the time it takes to track and report on these grants, and that all falls on Barb, and it falls on my office. They've got to track all these numbers, they've got to fill out the forms, they've got to turn them in, they get them back because the punctuation's wrong, and they have to redo the reports and send them in again. They're really a bookkeeping nightmare along with everything else. But I wanted to ask you, you said if we execute the contract, we're agreeing to the terms of this whole plan. Does that mean the grant money? Do you mean taking the grant money to do that interview room is pulling the trigger on that agreement? Is
Yeah, it has not been awarded yet. It's supposed to be awarded. We were set up originally with the contractor to start on or around October 1st, because that's when they said the money would be released. Now that it's being appealed by 4 different counties, that's on hold, and they're not releasing that money.
Grant money's closed.
Yeah, so if we go ahead, you know, like I said, we had the money allocated for it, and then we would get reimbursed for it. But we go ahead with that money, and the grant's not released, we don't get that money back.
Right, but if we accept the grant money, when it's finally released, are we saying we're okay with the program?
Yes,
That-
at that point in time, if we accept it,
Okay.
yes, we're okay with the program, but if we do it ahead of time, we are saying we are, we need to find out, like I said, we wanna see more on this, like I said.
Yeah,
The
before-
initial meeting I was in there, and it was April of 17, I think it was, you know, a year and a half ago, the initial meeting, I think I said, I could just, and sometimes, you know, you go into things like this, just my experience of what it's been. The way funding's dispersed, where the money goes out from and where the money goes back to is not always the same source of revenue. And to give you an example, there was an article in the Oakland Press here about 10 days ago. It talked about CDBG funding, okay, because of the state, okay. And this is not picking on our neighbors to the east Pontiac. In years past, they've got 2 to 3.5 times as much money in their CDB demolition funding alone that we've got for our entire program. Just for demolition, and they said this year, because the demolitions are down to 120 now, they're gonna take some of that money and funnel it into sidewalks, replacing sidewalks. But they're getting, for our entire program they're running, on our entire program, they're getting 2 to 3.5 times as much money just for home demolition down there. You know, than we were getting for run our entire program, so, and I don't know how much else they were getting on top of that. But then you go back to Detroit, CDBG funding, it's a 3-year period, there was $52 million they couldn't account for, and I'm thinking at this meeting, how can you not account, but when you get $45 or $50 million a year, technically only took a third, and you take all of it, you know, but, and this is money that couldn't be accounted for, I'm not saying they couldn't account for it. Whether it was spent, or they got it and it went out, but there was no accountability tied to an address or whatnot. And again, the CDBG works good because the way it works, it goes as a lien against the property. Say my mom needs a new furnace in her house and she's fixed income stuff, so they put a furnace in her house and a lien goes on her. No interest, just a lien. And this is one of the governmental programs that does not typically like some of the other ones where the money goes under the back. Okay, you sell the house, the lien has to be forgiven, you get clear title to sell the house. The money comes back to the township, goes back in the township fund. Now you can put a furnace or a water heater or a roof or something on somebody else's house that's necessitated. So that's, the money goes out, but it comes back in, it goes out and it comes back in. So the demolition aspect of it, we've done 2 or 3 demolitions in CDBG area. Down there in Huron Gardens, we knocked a couple of houses down there. That was CDBG money, okay, and that goes to lien against the property. Well, Tony will tell you, one's knocked down, there's a house standing on it out. So when those lots change, whatever it is, it's a lien against the property. Okay, in order to get clear title, they have to give, so the money comes back to the township and it goes back into the system. So it's
a very good program.
It's a great program, it really
One
is.
of those rare federal programs that actually does what they're
We've
supposed
been in it for
to do.
years here.
And they said it helped us help a lot of people. I remember when I first come into office, when we first came into office, there was the economy was starting to turn around a little bit, 2013.
Right.
There was 2 or 3 times people came in, their parents had passed, they'd sold their houses, but the liens shoved against it, they wanted the money, they wanted the liens forgiven.
Forgiven, right.
But if you forgive the liens, you're defeating the purpose of the program. The funding source goes away, so it is, you know, as hard-nosed as it seems, we just said, no, we can't do that, because somebody else can benefit from that. And again, and every year it seems like more and more people find out about, you're able to help more and more people out. Like I said, you can't remodel your bathroom, you can't remodel your kitchen, but you
Just
should
for
put
necessities.
entry doors to secure your house. I know sometimes the cops will go to a house or something. They got passage sets on the doors, they're not even locked, you know, and then the doors are, you open them up and the wood's tore out the bottom and you have to get a hold of it, send a contractor over, put a new door and a new lock set with a dead bolt. You know, you get the door secured in the house, and it's necessitated, you know, for the safety of the people living in those houses, so it makes it nice.
And what also works for us here in Waterford is the fact that all our code enforcement is paid for with the CDBG money.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
and some of our more sidewalk repairs in those target areas, so it's money that's used in a lot of different ways and it benefits everybody, so.
It does, like you said,
Hope they don't knock that program out.
we're good, we think at least through 20. Rob says from the information you got to 20. And then we were able to free up this year, what was it, 68,000? CDBG for sidewalks.
Yep.
Yep, in the CDBG district, we were able to free up, we had 45,000 set aside, so we
Right.
got that 68 on top of that.
Okay.
So that's really nice, about 68,000. It was an area, we originally allocated 50, and then you can go up to 50% one, so we could have gone up to 75, but the district we did had 4 streets, so we did the sidewalks in 3. So the 4th street gets the sidewalks done, that took it up to 68,000, but that whole area is done. And again, it has to be in the CDBG.
Area, right.
So that worked out good, and that frees the other 45,000 up for somewhere else in the township.
So another thing about CDBG, the county does most communities CDBG funding, like a re-granting organization, and they put out a booklet and they tell how much each community gets from CDBG. Well, we're not listed in there. We've had people call and say, why don't we do this? Why don't we get this money? We don't go through the county, that's why we're not listed in that book. We haven't, we're big enough here, we get enough money that we don't have to, we're not listed in the county's book. They don't administer our CDBG, we administer it ourselves. So.
And Art, you weren't here, but like you said, you go back to when that was all taken care of. Because there's a no-win situation with the sidewalk conditions in Waterford Township, okay? And if it happens to be close to his house, he's an elector, it has to be close to my mom's house, because she's my mom, you know, it happens to be close to us. So we hired an independent company to come in, and on a golf cart with a video camera, drove every lineal inch of public sidewalk in Waterford Township. And they documented from 1 being good to 10 being bad, the order in which the sidewalks are bad. So using an independent study of where that's at, and that's how we're attacking that. We're freeing up $45,000 out of the general fund and going and targeting those areas. But like I said, with the CDBG, we're under 68,000 this year, so.
Makes good sense to me.
And it's, like I said, then it's, people may get upset, they may get mad, but it was done totally on the up and up, and there's no partiality or favoritism showed that. We actually had a couple of residents, remember, in 15, a couple of residents actually went in there and paid to have their own sidewalks replaced in front of their house. They just tired of it. They hired a company to come in and tear the sidewalk out, report it, so.
So Art, it's kind of interesting, that whole project, who did that, Spalding, you got, was it? Well, it doesn't matter, so this engineering firm, we went out for bids, but CDBG money paid for it, because a lot of the sidewalks were in the target area, and even if they weren't in the target area, people who live in the target area use the sidewalks throughout the township. So they were so excited about this project. It was actually a new thing, nobody had ever done this before. They found the camera that would tag it with GPS positioning as it was filming.
Wow.
It's like a ghost.
So, you know, at any
I
car,
like
you
it,
can, you know, click on a picture and it'll tell you exactly where it is. And this, I mean, it's no benefit to us, but when it was all done, this was a new product that they could sell to other communities that they developed working with us, so that was pretty.
Never
that was
got to my
great.
house, I don't have a sidewalk.
Neither do I.
We don't either.
I don't either, I had to drive with a shovel myself, so.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
probably, I didn't see it.
I got a big driveway.
1976, the taxpayers of Waterford put it on the ballot and approved the sidewalk millage. It was $10 per parcel. And say there was, just say 30,000 parcels in the township, so it created, you know, $300,000 a year. And that was from 76 to 86.
Yep.
86, they never put it back on the ballot. So we just took that, $10 a year per parcel as a township, you know, bigger lands got divided by.
Sure.
We did the math on that. And if they renewed that every year and paid $10 there for all the sidewalks that are currently in Waterford Township now, I think we were about 860,000 short of replacing every inch of sidewalk in Waterford Township. That program has stayed in place, but for some reason or other, they put it back on the ballot. And it just, you know, so here, again, you go down the road, 86, 96, 06, 16, here we are, 32 years down the road, the sidewalks are borough. 25, 30 years is really pushing for concrete, 20, 25 is really pushing for asphalt, so it just, But just, it's like I said, it's one of those things that, you gotta deal with. So like I said, we're doing a little bit at a time, but we're taking care of the stuff that's really, really bad. And
Little at a time is about what we can do.
then you wanna,
So
you wanna
we'll
get
have-
the biggest bang for your buck. You wanna get the contractor in an area. You want, I mean, there may be another area that's a bad piece here, a bad piece. You don't wanna bounce it all over the top because you're gonna pay $12 a running foot rather than $9 a running foot to replace them. So keep them in one area so you get your biggest bang for your buck replacing those sidewalks.
Makes sense to me.
So by the time we get all the really bad stuff taken care of, the next year will be
Next
really
go
bad.
Right.
So we'll just keep moving them on up until finally we've got
And you get them all replaced, and guess what? Where you started out
Start over
replacing
again.
20 years before, they're all bad again. It's
Yeah,
just,
that's how it works.
I don't know whoever invented concrete, but they were geniuses. It'll never go away and it'll never last, so. But, no, it's just one of those things, so. But that's what I had, on my agenda, so. Sue?
So, we're getting ready for the election, and I don't know if you're aware how close it was to the election, they decided no straight party voting. Straight party
Oh.
voting's not on the ballot. I waited as long as I could to order the secrecy sleeves of the absentee ballots. I ordered them the next day.
They came out with that.
They came out with that change. I've got secrecy sleeves that say straight party voting on them. So I called the company and asked them if I could send them back, and they said, no, we don't, if we take them back, everybody will send them back, and we can't sell them to anybody. So I
They
got.
don't want to eat the loss.
They don't want to eat the loss. So I've got on the shelf high up someplace, some straight party ticket secrecy sleeves. And I ordered a whole new set without straight party on it. Now, fast forward a couple of weeks, things never stop changing. It's on the ballot in November. There's 18-1 is, 18-1 is maybe gerrymandering. 18-2 is recreational marijuana, and I may have these numbers wrong, but 18-3 is a whole series of election things. And it's all in one. This is how they do things in the legislature too. Pack everything together as one thing, and then you can't pick and choose what you like, what you don't like. One of the things that's on the ballot, on this one proposal, is no reason absentee ballots. I'm all for that, 100%. I would love no reason. You wanna vote absentee, you can vote absentee. As it is right now, check one of the 6 reasons. And if your reason is you're a single mother of 3 kids, and you work all day and you gotta go home and fix dinner, that's not one of the 6 reasons, right? So that's one of the things that I would vote yes for. But another thing, well, is straight party ticket voting. Do we want to implement that or not? So I might still use those secrecy things that are up on the shelf.
Nice planning.
Yeah.
Way to go.
And another thing is,
It's covered anyway, right?
they want you to be able to register to vote on election day. Register to vote on election day.
What a nightmare that would be.
Let the circus begin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so how do we know?
When you say
that-
they, you're talking about the state legislature.
that's what's on this ballot proposal.
And it's all in one thing.
It's all in one thing, so it's all in or all out.
Do you have to agree to everything?
You vote yes or you vote no. If you vote yes, you're saying yes to everything. If you vote no, you're saying no to everything. So let me just impress upon you how much you should vote no on this. The way I see it, you could be registered to vote election day in West Bloomfield, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, you go vote there. Then you come to Waterford and say, I want to register to vote. I just moved into
I know.
Waterford. And
I just moved
now,
up today.
on election day, when I'm getting 1 million phone calls from all 21 polls, what, I'm supposed to call West Bloomfield and say, Joe Blow is here and he wants to register to vote.
He already
Did he already
voted.
vote? Did he already vote in Calcasas? Did he already vote in Escanaba? Am I supposed to be making these election day
And you
phone
can
calls?
bet people won't be doing that.
Yeah, so what, I'm gonna have 2 more people on staff on election day.
Unbelievable.
They haven't decided on that yet, though.
It's
have
on
they?
the November ballot.
Oh, okay,
We're
so it
voting
won't
on it.
happen,
We're voting.
but it won't happen in November.
Oh, no.
Right,
no,
okay.
It won't happen in November, but if it happens ever, it's
Right,
gonna
but
be
it
a
might be,
nightmare.
right.
Yeah.
So for your office, it's gonna be crazy.
Well, and
How
just
do you
for,
even do
for
that
election fraud.
Register voters and
This is,
run-
it's gotta be statewide, right? So
It
it's
is,
gotta be-
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
state proposal. So how do you prevent fraud? they're gonna come up with all these crazy hoops that we have to go through. Maybe I'll be lucky if I just have to hire 2 more people to
First
accommodate all these
Huh?
crazy
Or state
things.
legislature.
So please
But who?
vote no.
I wanna know the
Who
person.
sponsored the bill? I mean, it's probably like 20 names on it if all
Yeah,
those,
there better be.
if all those things are in it.
Yeah.
One thing good about though, if they do live in Escanaba, that time of year, the weather can be bad enough, they'd never make it down here in time to vote more.
Well, that's
You're
true.
safe.
Good point. They could have voted
That's a
yes,
good
yeah,
thing.
though.
I didn't think of that one.
Yeah, they could have voted. So that's a horrible thing. So
Yeah,
please,
yes.
please vote no on that.
Now, those sleeves there that say, isn't there like a sticker you could put over that, I mean, just,
Yeah, I was thinking.
Well, okay, if you will think back 2 years to the last election, when this whole fiasco started, I had secrecy sleeves that said straight party voting on it. And the court said, no straight party voting, so I immediately jumped on this. I have too much to do to dally, right? So I called in a whole crew of volunteers, and they took those secrecy sleeves, and they took a marker, and they marked out 10,000 secrecy sleeves, anything related to straight party voting. Good, we're all set to go. Thank you, volunteers, you are the best, we're ready to go. Then the court of appeals changed. So, rather than order 10,000 more secrecy sleeves, I just ordered an instruction sheet that told you how to vote, and I put it in secrecy sleeve with the ballot. Well, I ended up on the front page of the Oakland Press for putting conflicting instructions on ballots, although it wouldn't have mattered which set of instructions you followed, your
Right.
vote would have been what you wanted. But I ended up on the front page. So, Tony, I'm not putting any stickers on these
no, that was
secrecy
me,
sleeves.
Tony's idea.
Yeah, okay. I'm not putting stickers, I'm
Blame 'em both.
marking them up. I spent the extra money, I bought more secrecy sleeves.
Well,
So-
Tony and I'll come in the weekend, we'll put stickers
Oh,
on.
Put stickers on.
I can't blame you, but I believe, well, one thing good about being on the front page of the Oakland Press, a whole lot of people didn't read it, so.
That's true.
Circulation's down.
I was say, that was the top news story.
$1.75 daily paper, I'm not buying it anymore.
Yeah.
So another thing that's coming up with the elections is we have to test the ballots, you know.
Right.
Before we mail them out to anybody, we test them to make sure they work. So the ballots came in last Thursday, and there's so much in the papers and on the TV and on the radio about how there's all this fraud and cheating. I called the Oakland Press for the 6 people that will read it and still subscribe. And I told them that tomorrow I have a bunch of volunteers coming in to help me create the test deck. You guys know what that is?
I just seen it.
Okay. You get this chart, and it has a predetermined set of votes on each ballot and a predetermined result. So these volunteers are gonna mark all these ballots the way I tell them to do it. And then when we feed them through the machine, I know what the result's supposed to be according to this chart. And that's our accuracy test. So I called the Oakland Press and I told them that volunteers are coming in tomorrow to create this test deck. And so the Oakland Press is gonna come
Come in
in
and watch.
and put an article in the paper to let people know, we don't just assume these ballots are right. We don't just assume this software that really
Sure.
works. We actually test it before we send it out. So,
So how do you get your numbers, like for this general election that's coming up? How do you know, do you have an idea, there's gonna be 10,000 people, 20,000 people coming out?
well, I mean.
I guess the point is, you're not gonna get you're not gonna be short of ballots like what happened in the primary in different.
I wasn't
See,
sure.
we
No, you weren't, I know
I
that,
wasn't sure.
I said other communities.
Yeah, other communities were short. So that was
I mean,
a
how do you prevent
primary,
that
that
from
was a
happening?
primary election, and primary elections turnout is so pitiful. But they always base it on the last primary election, the last primary election. Well, I was in a position where the last primary election, I had 29 precincts, and this past one, I had 21. So when they sent me my numbers of my ballots, they gave me the numbers for the first 21 precincts. This is what you ordered for precinct 1 through 20, that's all you're gonna get. Well, wait a minute, I had 8 other precincts, you're not even counting all those people. So I did an estimate of what it would be, you know, waterfalling all those people in, and I said, this is what you have to send me. Other clerks did the same thing for different reasons. They just felt there weren't
Yeah.
enough ballots. But that wasn't enough justification for the county to say, okay, you're right, we'll order more. Because of my situation with these reduced precincts, they took my numbers and they let me order that many.
From the 29
So
precincts.
the county really dictates
Controls, yeah.
the
Well, they do.
numbers.
In
How
fact,
many-
there
how
was a
many you're gonna
clerk
get, so-
who called the printer up and said, I'm gonna order some more ballots, I'll just pay for them, because the county pays for the ballots.
Yeah.
I'll just pay for them. The county called up and told the printer, don't give them any more
Really?
ballots, even though they were gonna pay for them. So it was not a good scene. So that can happen in a
It
primary.
makes no sense, you know, county saying, no, don't do it even if you're gonna pay for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But that was a primary. In a general election, they always give you 100%. So there's just no way that I wouldn't have enough ballots in November. You get 100%, you get
So
way
what's
more.
the-
100% of the registered voters in your
Yeah,
community.
not the active voters, because there's a lot of registered voters that never go to the polls.
Right.
They give you 100% of registered voters, so if we have
Okay.
ballots up the wazoo.
What's that number, 52,000 or something?
53.
53,000?
Yeah,
marker?
yeah. If
Registered
Gary
voters.
were clerk, he could tell you exactly
Exactly.
how many.
I was waiting for him to say something,
But it's just.
Too many numbers.
I was waiting for him to throw a number
Yeah.
out, 53, 30, or 1.
Yeah, so,
Just as long as they don't surpass 100% of the total population. That would be a problem.
wouldn't that be interesting? And now if I run out of ballots, we do have a question here. But you know, too, there's one full-time person in my office who every day takes the emails that we get from the Bureau of Elections of the state, who died, who moved,
Right,
and who got married and changed their name. Every day we get emails from the state, and she is on that. I'll put my records up against any other community in the
Really good.
state. We are
Up
100%
to date.
accurate.
Good
Yeah,
to know.
100%, yeah. I feel very confident in that. She's a very precise worker, so we're lucky to have her.
And another thing that showed good was what Sue did there. From the 2014 primary to the 2018 primary, there was a spike of 59.8% increase in voters that voted in 18 than they did in 14. So there was a lot more ballots. You know, you base it on previous ballots, which you can't do. You gotta do it registered voters or percentage. We still didn't know, so, but that was a big thing election day.
Yeah.
Boy, it was.
Big
The-
one.
West Bloomfield had 13 precincts with a lot of ballots. You know, and this is of course at the end of the day, when everybody's tired and
They've been waiting in line.
their brain, no, I'm talking about the poll workers, their brain's already getting a little
Oh.
spongy at 6 PM. And now you're confronted with this unheard of thing. My gosh, what do you do? So I really feel sorry for West Bloomfield, 13 of them.
I have a question. So this proposal that's being put on the ballot by the state, that has all of these things, can we see it? How did you see it? How do you know about it?
I've already got the ballots.
So that's where it is on the sample ballot.
Yeah,
We
you
could
can
go.
see, all of your sample ballots are online now, you can
So
look
if you
at
go,
the
okay,
ballots.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What's the website, go state of Michigan?
You know, mi.gov/vote.
What is it?
.gov/vote, that tells you where your polling place is, your sample ballots, that's the quickest way. You can get it on our website too, but you have to go through a couple
So
of
this is the
different places.
fastest way to get
That's the
it.
fastest way.
Something that maybe, I don't know if it's too late for Gary Allison to put on cable.
It's a good idea.
To educate the residents of Water.
You know, that is a good idea.
The dead air time, there's just announcements.
Yeah.
It's like public service.
Yeah.
Right, sure.
It's on our board PowerPoint tonight.
Then
Well,
we
the
did
sample
We
ballot.
did a show before the primary too, for the clerk's office.
Yeah.
About
Not
the
sample
changes of
ballot, but
precincts.
the website.
Oh, okay.
.gov/vote.
This I started writing notes because, you know, just all of a sudden you start talking to something else. Oh yeah, that, oh yeah, that. Well, she's thinking,
Can I keep my turn, can I come back to my turn when I remember?
we'll draw straws.
All right.
We'll cut this one up and draw straws.
I'm gonna
KJ?
give mine. I'm gonna give mine to Sue.
I said Karen.
Oh, you said KJ.
KJ, same difference.
Okay.
Art?
Nope.
Nope.
Nothing.
Steve?
No, I don't have anything right now either.
Okay, Tony?
You get all my Sue. I got nothing. Tomorrow night, planning commission, 4:30.
Yep.
Anybody interested?
What's on?
DTE.
Oh,
Good.
good,
That's
good,
good.
good.
At the
That's
Sears
right,
site.
That's the
Sears
final
site.
vote, right?
No,
Right.
the final,
Final.
So-
approval for,
Site plan approval.
yeah,
Okay.
not site plan, for no, the conceptual zoning, for the zoning.
Change in
Oh,
zoning.
okay.
Is that, good, okay.
There's a 4:30.
Special use or something like that?
Yep, special use, yep.
That's 4:30 tomorrow.
It's zoned right, it just needs special.
Special
After.
zoning.
Verbiage.
The verbiage, yes, the.
That's what I usually do.
Was ours supposed to close on?
That'd be the 25th. I got,
Oh,
that's
Tuesday.
That's one of the things I wrote
Yeah,
down. Okay,
Didn't they already?
yeah, the sale of the mall did close. We have a new owner of the mall.
Good.
All
That's
the
awesome.
paperwork's been filed, all the
Good.
legal parts been taken care of.
So you got it.
And we
Good.
do have the
Good.
$3 million letter of credit for the demolition,
All right.
is escrowed, so, that's the new owner, REL Enterprises, and they're calling that Summit 327.
Yeah.
That's the name of the group that's gonna own the mall, it's one of these, escrows.
It's a project.
Summit 327, so they got $3 million escrow, they have to start demolition on or before September 25th, 2019, okay?
Got it.
And then they have to complete demolition on or before September 25th, 2020.
Sure.
They were looking at closing on the sale of the mall on Tuesday, the 25th, that's where
Yeah.
the date came from.
Yeah.
What was the date, September 6th?
Sweet.
I think
Yes, it
September
was my
6th.
birthday. They
Happy birthday
closed
to
on
Sue.
my
But
birthday.
that's just great. That shows he's aggressive, which
But
is
he
good.
bought the 6th was Wednesday,
Yeah,
closed on Friday, the
I
8th.
love it.
And then we got the paperwork on Monday, but over the weekend, so Ari finally sent out a press release because we had cranes, pre-press, news, 2, 4, 7.
That's how it ended up in the open.
The open
That's-
press, yeah, they
right?
just kept calling and calling, I said, but, yeah,
Good.
there's been a sale, but there's nobody told anybody here, well, in the meantime, the attorneys were talking, and
Sure.
they had some wording they had to change, get straightened out, and they finally got that all straightened out, so it's done.
Here, what's going on with the Chrysler cars over there now? They're still business as usual over there? We get the
Yep.
tax, we
We
get
got
the checks?
3 consecutive checks on that, but, okay, back taxes are now paid.
They are paid?
They had to be
Okay.
paid to close the sale, yeah, because it was a
Yeah.
lien against the property, so the back taxes are paid.
So now those payments will go back to the
Yeah.
owner and they'll have to
The owner
pay.
did that, but the
they'll bring us
$1,500 checks were coming
To the town.
to the
Directly,
Oakland, they
yeah.
were made out to the Oakland County Treasurer's Office with the tax ID
Yep.
number on it, and they were bringing them to the township, we took them directly over there to pay against the back taxes, and all.
Taxes, sure,
But
sure.
Margaret had said, why don't we put them against current taxes, because the current taxes aren't back taxes yet, so they're still current, the deadline for them isn't quite here yet, is it? We got one more
It was the
notice, I think,
14th.
tonight.
Yeah.
And
That
taxes
was-
were due.
Okay, but when
Yes.
we cut that deal, you said we got a check in July, got one in August, and we got one in September. $1,500, so $4,500 when he gets back taxes, so, yeah, they'll take that and send that to the, in fact, I should notify them tomorrow, let them know who to mail that to now. As long as they park the vehicles there, so.
So one good thing about this sale was REL Enterprises had set it up that they could finance it, owner financing for 3 years. So
I was gonna
Sean
say this.
Raybar would still have his
That part
finger
of
in the
it,
pie,
right.
right? But when they closed, he paid it.
Really?
There is no note.
Done.
Sean Raybar is out of
Did Sean
detention.
know
Harry,
that
he
before
still
going
has
into
that
it?
parcel.
He still has a parcel, but,
Kia, the.
Kia.
He can't.
but
But
he
that's what-
doesn't own
There's
the
still
mall.
the option at 1.3 acres to the east of Kia, there's still an option on that. And just like, where the mall originally hooked up to Sears, they finally closed that out, in April of this year, they finally recorded that, and it was 1989, I think they had done the mall. They did is Sears deeded that chunk that goes in like that to the owner of the someplace mall to hook up to Sears, you know what I'm saying? It just
Sears
wasn't-
was set back from the property line and they wanted to connect.
Okay.
To connect, they had to give them that little chunk so the
There-
building.
Yeah. Looked like
There's
they bought it right
a
up.
straight property line across there, okay, and like I said, it wasn't, hey, we got some extra block here, you want us to hook up your building? We knew that didn't happen like that, so, but they never recorded it, it was never recorded, so, but they finally did that in March. But now Sears thinks, or DTE thinks they'd like that chunk that was taken out of there. So that's the case, they're gonna knock Sears down and then start into the mall, knocking some of it down too, so. maybe it'll get
Nice.
contagious, just like dominoes, and just.
Dominoes.
That was
I
the
think
question.
it's gonna be gone pretty quick.
Well, I'm just
But
thinking that maybe they started on that.
By his actions, he has shown nothing.
But, you know, he's a little bit hampered because he wants to get some transformational
Yeah.
brownfield
And you
money.
can't knock it
He
down.
and you have to do it, like Gary was
Gotta
saying,
be there, right?
if we fix the interview room in the court, we can't. Before the grant is given, we don't get reimbursed. And it's the same with that transformational brownfield. If he starts tearing them all down before he's locked all of that in, the project no longer qualifies, there's no building there.
I understand.
So he is a little hampered time-wise with
I
what
think
the
he
state.
steps, I think he steps ahead
You have to take
of what
possession before you
he
can
actually.
apply for
Well,
brownfield
sees
money?
it.
He'll get it.
You gotta
as
wait.
soon
He's
as-
got,
as soon as
he's got a
he
letter
can
of credit that's
apply.
costing him
That's
money
what I
right
said.
now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised he went with that option.
Yeah, I
Not only that, he paid the
Yeah.
thing off.
Yeah.
He
Rather
paid it
than
off,
just-
so that's money he's not earning anything on right now, so.
You think
Actually, he gets it
once
billed.
Passed.
Crushed.
No, I'm
Bill,
surprised he did the letter of credit instead of doing it a different way,
Hopefully,
but still
everything
giving us a
beyond
guarantee,
sight.
like a bond or.
He also
I'm
showed he has a
assuming
good
that-
relationship with somebody.
Well,
And I was surprised it wasn't a
Yeah, he's
bigger
very
bank in
connected.
TC.
I think he's a couple steps ahead of
It
where he
wasn't
actually
Chase, it was
is.
Bank of America.
Yeah,
it was
that's
Wells
not-
That's why he closed, that's why he bought it on the fifth, he closed on the
Yeah,
eighth.
that's
Gas station, no, that's still another person.
That's exciting news to hear that it's done.
He's done, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
And then the Greenbelt's along Telegraph, one is where the retention pond is, for
Yeah.
the Greenbelt supposedly Ramco Gershenson still owned them.
Right.
But all that property falls under one Sidwalk, one tax ID number. And what's that quiet title?
Yeah, quiet
That
title.
quiet
They have to
title.
do that.
After 7 years, you know what I'm saying, that was never recorded that that was the
Is
case.
there a statute of limitation with that?
Right, 7 years. So
7
Ari's,
years.
Wow.
Ari's dealing with Ramco Gershenson on that. You know,
Very
to get
important.
that cleaned up too, because there was never a split, never recorded split, no separate, and in order, MDOT will not allow any more curb cuts off the Telegraph into those parcels. And you gotta be in cahoots with the people on the other side that own them all to have any access to them, so basically, it's useless ground. I don't know why that was, done like that, but just some of the stuff with that mall is just, and then they had the access agreement where the old cinema property was. They have a Dr. Cadre for the ball stadium, for parking for the ball stadium. Well, ball stadium's not there, so that tells me that deal's dead, but he's gotta clean that up. And then, of course, your cross-access agreement with Sears, other part, but he owns both properties, so he can
When
make
was
that
the
go.
mall built?
1962.
Yeah, I was gonna guess 60.
1962.
That's when there was a lot of development like that in the
There wasn't completed, but wards, and the reason I remember was, July 28, 1962, Norm Cash and Steve Boros were down there signing
You
autographs.
were 8 years old.
No, 8.
I was-
No, hold on,
Three, I wasn't there.
Hold on,
I didn't remember this.
hold on, Mickey Mantle did this too, okay? He had 3 home runs over the right field rough in Tiger Stadium, but on Friday night, the 27th, Norm Cash hit a home run over the right field rough. He was my childhood hero. I was in line to get his autograph, and we got into the mall. This is a great story you gotta hear. Everybody, you'll enjoy the story as well. So we get in the mall, and my dad he lives like 11 of us in the car and takes us down there. Well, you walk in, and there's Steve Boros is sitting right there in front of Montgomery Wards, and you can walk up and get his autograph, then turn around and get in the line, and Cash is all the way down at Wards, or at Hudson's down there. So you gotta wait in line. So my dad says to us, he says, I'll be right back. So my dad, who was a physical presence, he gets down there. Bill Stokes, who was former chief, at that time was a lieutenant on the Waterford Police Department, standing there with Norm Cash. My dad was his training deputy at the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. So my dad says to Stokes, he said, hey, Bill, I got an idea. Bill says, go ahead. So my dad walks up to Norm Cash. He goes, hey, Norm, I'm from Children's Village, we can't bring all those kids out, can you sign some autographs? So he goes, yeah, how many he says 25, so Cash stops right there, takes these 4x6 pictures, signs them, best wishes, Norm Cash, 25 of them, hands them to my dad. So my dad comes back down to the line and says, come on, now let's go, you know, you could call my dad Mr. Wallace, Don, no, Don, we wanna meet Storm and Norman, so we wait in line, and I get all the way up there, sign it, and I said, Norm, I says, you hit one out of Tiger Stadium last night, you think you get another one pretty soon? He says, I'll try. Next day he did. I think I was 20 or 21 years old before I finally figured out he didn't do that for me, it just happened. He told me he was gonna help, he was gonna try and get one out, and he did, and that was the last one he ever did at Tiger Stadium. So. But that was pretty neat.
That's great.
July 28th, that's how I knew it was July 28th. And 62. As a visiting player, Mickey Mantle cleared the rate for about 3 days.
Okay, so I looked up the proposal, and it looks as though it's breaking into 3 sections that you can vote on. Should there,
No, I've got the ballot. It's
because
yes or
after
no.
each, this
Wait,
proposal.
there's
we have
18-1,
to-
18-3.
So there's 3
One
to
is
vote.
gerrymandering.
Right.
One, oh, did you think all 3 topics were?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's why I made like,
Oh,
go ahead
I'm
to vote.
sorry. The
Like one vote
gerrymandering
for
one
all,
is
right.
separate.
You can vote yes or no.
The recreational marijuana is
So there's
separate.
3 you can vote
Yeah,
on.
18-1, 18-2, 18-3.
Okay.
I thought
18-3
you
is
had
all,
either yes or no
all
on
those
everything you
election
want.
things are all lumped together.
Okay.
The good things for the elections, the bad things are.
Are they on the back of the ballot?
Yes,
Because that is legal to do.
they are on the back of the ballot. The governor insisted on being first.
Wow.
So, sorry, I wasn't clear.
Yeah.
So,
The governor pulls rank, eh?
appears to be.
Brooks
yeah.
Patterson makes more money a year than he does.
Governor
Really?
still
it's like,
pays, right?
yeah. I remember telling him when he was running for governor, I said, Brooks, you're gonna take a cut in pay.
So the other thing I wanted to tell you guys, you know, we had the walking shoes exhibition
Oh,
yeah.
opened up, and it really looks cute. If you haven't had an opportunity, just, even if you just go to the
It's
Buffalo
in
Wild
open
Wings.
press or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they stole the shoe.
Yeah, so this
Pictures
is,
stole the
Yes.
shoe
this is
that
what I'm
night.
going to tell you. So Natalie from the Oakland Press came while we were putting them up, and she talked with us and got the whole story. And we put up 38 shoes, and it looks real cute, and there are a lot of them right by Buffalo Wild Wings. So even if you don't have a lot of time, just pull into the
Yeah.
parking lot and look right in that general area. So, okay, all the shoes are up, and I went to get a sign that was waiting out there, it was stuck in the ground on Crescent Lake Road, and stick it in front of it, so I leave, I come back, stick it in the ground, and 2 shoes are already missing. I mean, it wasn't even a half hour.
What are they gonna do with these shoes?
Yeah, they got a pair of them.
Were they a pair? Yeah.
But they're
Was it
huge.
2 lefts, 2
No,
rights?
so the first 2 that we're taking, one was the picture in the paper, because Natalie was there when we hooked it up, and it was winking, blinking, and nodding when I sailed up in a wooden shoe. So it was 3 little dolls in a sailboat, and it was taken within a half hour.
Wow.
And then another one that really wasn't that remarkable, I don't tell her mother I said that, just a kid that did it, so.
You're on camera. Lean a little farther ahead there, just, go.
So then, Children's Village did some shoes again, our auditors bought 4 shoes, and we sent them over to Children's Village, and there was a pair, and it was blue shoes with clouds painted on it, and a poem went across the toe of one shoe and onto the other. So we put them together so you could read the whole
Everything put
poem.
together, yeah.
And put them on, and they were a left and a right.
Ever gone to?
So the pair
I
from
saw that
Children's
one.
Village.
Zach's got one out.
But anyway, everything else is stayed, all the other shoes are still there, and we're looking for another week.
Disney. You're in water and sand,
We were supposed to seal, I sealed mine.
Just, it's hilarious.
Very good.
I did.
So anyway, it's a real cute thing. Got a week.
Shame we stole the shoes, though.
Well, you know
Should
what I
look at
knew
the
was
video,
gonna happen. I knew it
Police
was.
department.
One of the ladies on the
Just down,
committee.
they're
that
just
was
downstream. up
Oh,
on
where the
bridge,
cameras are?
Where they paint all
Cameras
the
underneath?
graffiti all the time.
Yeah.
Tell them the battery story while you're at it too. This is why you don't loan your tools to people, but go ahead.
Gary is always so kind. He's got this great portable, whatever you call it, battery
Battery
operated
drill.
drill. And there's also a little graffiti that gets painted on the wood along there. We have 2 wooden bridges. And these kids, they just can't seem to help themselves. So, so once a year, I borrow Gary's battery powered drill, and I put a wire brush on it, and
Clean
I
it up.
scrub all that off, right? It takes a little while, but he's got 2 batteries, right? So I took the one battery off, and I put the other battery in, and I started wire brushing, and all of a sudden it stopped. I mean, I had just put it on, and I knew it was fully charged. So I lift the battery up. It had stopped because I had put it on all the way, and it had lost its connection. When I lifted it up to look at it, it fell off, bounced on the bridge, and went.
Into the muck, disappeared. Oh.
Just swallow it.
Saints gotta say, God.
Yeah.
But
Well, at least it wasn't stolen.
She bought me 2 new batteries to replace this. Now I have 3 batteries. I think she figured she could lose another one next year.
Yeah, it's safe.
That's fair.
Well, I went to the store, I had no, I'm not that generous, I had no intention of buying 2 batteries, but they
So
came
we
in
can
2
buy.
packs.
So-
Yeah, so we can give them.
So,
Well, typically you wear out, there's 2 batteries.
Yeah, right.
But that's-
Sort of like the straight line sleeves.
yeah, the secrets are saved, yeah. We're covered now.
Same
We're all
difference, yeah.
same thing. But anyway, and a little more information, this Saturday coming up, I have a lacrosse team. Do you know that there's a Watford boys lacrosse team?
Mhm.
Yes.
Do you even know what lacrosse is?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't know
You
that.
don't?
But we have a lacrosse team, and they're gonna come and help work on the Riverwalk.
That's nice.
Over by Dr. Rapp's, there's a whole, what would you say, field of grapevines that grows like crazy, it just overruns the walk. So we're gonna.
How old is the lacrosse team?
12 to 17 years old, there's, I think, about 10 of them. So we'll just work for a couple hours and take care of that.
Wow.
Where do they play it? So over here at the soccer field?
Is that an outdoor sport?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a court game?
No.
Field.
I don't know.
It's
It's
a
not.
football
Stick
fields, I
with
think they play in
the
the high school.
baskets
Football
in
field?
it, and the
Okay.
balls that about that big, and you're supposed to throw the.
Ball is
Is this like
extremely
highlight
hard.
or something?
Yeah. You don't wanna get hit with
No.
it.
It was actually very popular by the American Indian.
Yeah. That's where it
They
came
came
from.
from, yeah.
I was just listening to NPR the other day, and they're reintroducing a game that was also played by the Mesoamericans in Central America, where you can't touch the ball with your hand or your feet or your head. You have to hit it with your hip.
That's
Oh.
interesting.
Where they play this?
In Mexico.
What's it called?
Ulama or something like that.
Soccer,
Ulama.
right?
But
You
your
can't
hip
touch
bone. I mean.
How could you keep it up in the air? How do you
know.
And
score?
if it hits the ground, how do you get it back?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah.
Wow.
You know, in your hands, your feet, or your head.
Can't touch it with any of
Those
those.
people must be at soccer.
Well, soccer's probably too easy.
And then that's $7,500 that we set aside this year. They're gonna go in there and cut all the dead wood. And the bigger overgrowth that we can't get with pruners and clippers, they're gonna go the entire length of the river walk. Cut some big, well, so where the river walk ends, the new stuff's gonna get narrow by Lampier, so we finally get that straightened out. But from there all the way down to the cut, there's several dead trees along there. Because eventually a good wind, they're gonna end up laying across that.
Yeah. Right.
Go in your head and clean that out.
When are they doing?
First week October, I think it is.
So, oh, and
First week of October.
And there is something else too. There are 2 little grants, I think I've mentioned this to you guys, that League of Michigan Bicyclists gave us.
Right, right.
A $1,700 grant, and Eagle Graphics is working on the signage for those. It will tell you from this point, it's a half mile to the library, it's a 3/4 of a mile to Riverside, it's this far to Drake Plains Nature Center, and the historic village. So we'll bring a little more recognition.
It'll bring utility to it and advertising.
Yeah.
You know, like in MASH, where they pull up in a Jeep and there'd be all these signs,
Yeah.
just like that right there, same thing, fighting all those different.
And it'll have the swoosh from the gateway sign, the swoosh.
You know, do you know we
Riverwalk.
can't get a QR code like Suncoast did, where they put in the QR codes when people wanna know where they're, like if they wanted to get access to a map, they could
Yeah.
take them beyond that. They use their phone on the QR code,
You know,
and it
that's-
takes them to
yeah.
like a county map
Yeah,
that they can look into.
that would be something interesting to develop. Right now, there is no
Right,
place
there's-
to direct them
right,
to,
right.
but we're gonna stick QR codes on it.
That's true, yeah.
And then there's another grant from the Greater Michigan Realtors Association, I got $3,700, and that's why that oddball little
Concrete. pad.
concrete pad is right abutting the sidewalk on Crescent Lake Road by the river. I've ordered the bike rack and I've ordered the bench that will be sitting there. And my son, the one who did that
Yes,
fabulous
that was
shoe, is
so
gonna
cool.
make the British phone book, he's gonna do it for me.
Yeah, you said, she made me draw it, and I draw it, and.
A British phone?
Yeah, so picture this,
Excuse me,
Yes.
am I under the understanding that you are not going to be discussing this at the general session at 6 o'clock?
Yes, it's all, that meeting's open to the public, yes.
You
It's
guys
not
get
on
to-
the
it's
agenda.
not on the
It's not on the
agenda.
agenda, but you
Come
can
up,
speak
you
about
can
it.
ask anything you want, yep.
And that's downstairs?
Downstairs, the main auditorium, yep, first
Thank
floor,
you.
yep.
So, with this British phone booth, you know what they are, they're red, and they have windows, and they have a round, he's even doing the round.
Yes, you said the
Figured
round.
out a round roof. And it'll have a door with a lock on it, and you'll be able to unlock it and put posters for his breakfast table, the walking shoes exhibition, harvest
like
happenings.
information,
Yeah,
so-
and instead of saying telephone at the top, it'll say information. So this will be sitting right there, like in the trailhead of the Riverwalk. And it will make people aware that we have a Riverwalk.
Right.
They'll stop and say, what is this thing? And they'll sit on the bench and they'll read the notices.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so Greater Michigan Realtors Association paid for that, and League of Michigan Bike Facilities paid for the
So
sign.
your son's making the phone booth from scratch?
Yeah,
You should see the shoe he did down at the shoe exhibition.
Yeah, you should see it.
He
It's
just took it apart and
It is interesting.
it's very cool. I don't know who did it.
Just like this, you know, layer.
sliced.
Yeah, no, it's,
Making a phone booth from scratch.
Yeah.
What are we worried about?
Yeah, well, he figures it'll take him a couple months. He's got
Yeah.
a facility. He lives in Livonia. He's a member of, it's called the Village, I forget what, it's like a maker's place. And they've got all the machines, all the machines.
So he can go use
He-
those.
And that's what he used with that shoe. It just slices things.
Really?
No, over at Liggett, they had all that for the woodworking
Yeah.
too. I don't know.
And
if
they still get the wood shop.
Do they over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't come that far in.
Okay.
Stop, but I think the wood shop is the last room, they didn't take over anything else beyond that.
Okay. I was shocked that they had all that for people to use.
So you say that the phone booth's gonna have like a lock on it, for people to get it? When is it open for somebody to come in here?
Well, so if you have a right to put a notice in there, because I'm not gonna key it, it's just gonna be a touchpad.
Okay.
And if you have permission to put a notice,
Yeah, they-
because it's only gonna be community events. An insurance agent's not gonna be able to advertise there, so Parks and Rec.
Oh, right, yeah, right. That's what
They
it should
just
be.
touch in the code, unlock it, stick it in, hopefully take it down when the event's
Even
over.
if people walk into the Riverwalk and stop, they wanna get some information.
Yes.
They'll just
How
have
they
to
get in
read
there?
it, it's
They
just
just have
to
to
read
read
it,
it.
there's no takeaway.
It should be a
There's no
full blast
takeaway.
door.
I see,
You
okay,
can
I'm
take
sorry.
a lecture
I
with
thought
your
there was gonna
phone.
be a little pamphlet.
No,
No,
no.
like, be like, like
I
a
see,
15
okay.
panel door on each side, solid back wall, 15 panel door on each side,
Okay.
and 15 panel door on the front.
Yeah.
You want to take something, you can take a picture of
Okay,
it.
that's why I was asking how they get in there, I thought it was
Yes.
pamphlet.
No.
Yeah, no, if you want to view on the back wall. it's
Yeah,
just-
very cool.
So anyway, that'll be kind of fun. Yeah,
Yeah, they should be able to drill down the leg shields and both the legs on there.
Well, excellent job.
Can advertise.
Yeah.
For those grants.
Yeah.
Very creative with funding.
Yeah, so.
well, you know, I actually owe it to Peggy Simon, she's a bicyclist and a real advocate. In fact, she was there at the Lansing where we got the.
Oh, okay.
And she's the one that brought it to my attention, and I was so surprised that this was a simple application.
Right.
No
Oh.
matching money, and boom, 2 weeks later, I had this grant. It
Wow.
was like unheard of, so yeah, it was pretty good.
Anything else?
Okay. Rest your break here.
Yep.
Very interesting.
But you enjoyed it.
The regular board meeting this week, we start doing, because it's the stuff we don't do, we're responsible.
Right.
I didn't know we could.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Really?